Typogram is a new web app that is aimed at styling short amount of text, such as what you would use as a headline or as a logotype or for your social media post. And it has a pretty intuitive interface for formatting the text. And since everything is so easy with it and you can get to a result pretty quickly, people are asking about what Adobe has to offer in that regard. Well, Adobe apps are a lot more complex and offer far more options, so what you find in Typogram is probably not so simple to find in Adobe apps. And that's why I'm going to compare them and give you some hints of where to look. So in this video, we're going to look at text formatting and especially variable fonts and OpenType alternatives and a little about coloring. I've already created that text and now we're going to select a font, and then you have the font family here. You can go in here and set this to variable. And then we can change the font family, and you see in here in the menu there is a style visible which is called variable gradient. So when we assign that, you see that the weight of the font changes over the length of that word, which looks pretty interesting. And down here you can go even further and change the way that this gets applied with this kind of gradation curve, and you see this changes, or you can go back and forth. If you scroll down further, then you see there are alternative letters for some of them inside that font, and we can switch them. If we go here to generate artboard, then you see some more options, and you see we have some coloring options, and there are even more coloring options in the playful thing, so that we get certain options of applying color to that. So let's take a look at how to do that in Adobe. I'm first going to Illustrator, and let's first take a look at fonts and how that works. We have OpenType fonts, and currently most of what you can download from larger type foundries are OpenType fonts. OpenType fonts can include a lot of options and alternatives and different languages and a lot of glyphs, but they don't have to. And they can be in different flavors, so they can be color fonts, they can be variable fonts, and this is of course influencing the kind of options that you have with them. So let's take a look at that. Here at the top we have a font that has a lot of alternatives. It's Big Hem Script, and it's really a huge font, so let's go to the glyphs panel in Illustrator, and there you see we've got a lot of glyphs here. When you want to access them, then of course you can double click here and select one of these letters, and you see already there we get the alternatives, and you can of course also open that glyphs panel and select one. But there's also another option. You go into the window menu, type, and there we have OpenType. Because all these options have different purposes. There are ligatures, there are contextual alternatives, there are another number of ligatures, discretionary ligatures, and then swashes. And when I click on them, then you see certain things change, but they are applied to all the letters in the text object. So that's one option to change those. Let's take a look at the next thing, because of course you want to see the variable fonts. Here I have used a variable font, and when you have a variable font in Illustrator, then let's go to the character panel, and you see there we have the font styles menu, and it is accompanied by this little icon. But this is not just an icon, this is a button. And when you click on it, you see the different axes of this font. So these are all design axes. And when you move the slider, then things change. So here we've got an inline that gets larger. And there are a lot of other options that can be changed in this font. So it's pretty famous for having a lot of these design axes, and you can combine all of that. And so when you want to have this variable gradient, then in Illustrator it unfortunately cannot be scripted, so it has to be changed manually for each of the letters. We have the color font here, and also this color font has some options, as you can see, but you cannot access the color. It's hard-coded into the font. Then we have another technology which is slightly older for having multicolored font, and this is a layered font. In this layered font, this works in that it combines its different styles. So here we have a couple of styles, and you see what happens in them. So you have multiple copies of lines of text, and then you format each of them in the according style. So here we go to the cast shadow, and then to the highlight, and then to the shadow. This one will be the inside shadow. Then we have an outline, and then we have an inline. And these are now combined. So as you can see, I have set them all in one text object. You can do that, or you can have them in multiple text objects and later align all of them. But this is a trick I learned from Kara Plicinich. And when you now set the line height to 0, so let's enter 0 here. You see 0 is not possible, it's 0.1, but if this is large enough, so this is 72 point, then probably it won't be noticed. So this is how you can align them, and if you need to change that text, change it back, and you can easily edit that. This technique is used in some of the fonts in Typogram as well. If you want to use one of these, then you can search for that kind of font in Adobe Fonts. Let's go back to Adobe Fonts, and there you can search for layered font, and you get the layered fonts that they have. And equally, you can search for colored font and, of course, variable. If you want to know what you can also do with variable fonts, then I would suggest Behance. Here's a sample project that has been done with variable fonts. I will put a link to this project into the comments of this video. This is by Plau Studio from Brazil. Let's take a look what InDesign has to offer. Let's switch to InDesign. And when we have an OpenType font in InDesign, such as this one, and even when we switch to the typography workspace, then you see no OpenType panel. If you want to have access to OpenType options, then you have to go into the character panel and then into the menu, and here we have the OpenType options. It's slightly more accessible if you do it in the character styles, because in InDesign everything is about styles. But still, that is probably a little hidden for you. So thankfully, there is a script by Roland Dreger. I'm going to link that in the description of the video. Let's go to the utilities and the scripts, and there we can just open it. If you've never added a script to InDesign, what you need to do is in the scripts panel, hold down the command key on the Mac, Control on Windows, and then double click on that user, which opens the folder where you have to put your scripts, as you can see in here. Then we can use this script, OpenType Features, just double click it, and there it is. This is the replacement OpenType panel for InDesign, and you see it has a lot of options. When you select a text object, then only the options that are applicable are highlighted here. There are extended features and everything. It gives you the easy access to those features. You see, we've got another script in here, and I have already created this text object. It has a certain font applied because the script is hard-coded to that font. And when I'm double-clicking that, then you see we've got a variable gradient here. So in InDesign, the variable fonts are scriptable, unlike in Illustrator. And there you can also create this variable gradient. And I'm going to put a link to that script in the video description as well, so you can change it and adapt it to your need. So that's how you can use those special fonts in Illustrator and InDesign and apply all that kind of styling that you can do in Typogram.